Welcome everyone to today's meeting, today, March 27th, 2023. I now call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
District 1, Councilmember Casey. District 2, Councilmember Vieira.
Present.
District 4, Councilmember Martinez.
Present.
District 3, Vice Mayor Silvera.
Here.
Mayor Lopez.
Here. Thank you very much. Today's invocation is by James Salcho from Harvest. I can't even pronounce it. I'm so sorry.
Presbyterian.
Thank you very much. Followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So everybody please stand. Is he here in person or is he on Zoom?
Zoom.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
All right, thanks for inviting me to participate. Let's pray. You may hear my dog barking in the background. God of valleys and mountains, God of sun and rain, God of grace and truth, we thank you for our city, its people, its businesses, its leadership, for the professional staff, for volunteers, for civic clubs and events like Love Series. Guide our mayor and council tonight through the complex issues that they face. Bless all who participate in person or via Zoom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Thank you, everyone. Today, we have two presentations and one proclamation. Today, we have with us from Persephone Guild, Nawatha Reed, Cheryl Welch, and Tammy Klein. If you could please step up to the podium, and we will be doing the proclamation out there. On that side. Microphone check. Okay, here we go. Declaring March 2023 as Women's History Month. Whereas in 1981, Congress passed Public Law 9728, authorizing the president to proclaim this week, beginning March 7th, 1982, as Women's History Week. Whereas in March 1987, Congress passed Public Law 109, designating March as Women's History Month. And whereas this month we celebrate the countless pioneering women who have been leaders, not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the civil rights movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. Whereas women have played a crucial role in advancing social justice, led in groundbreaking, significant discoveries, and charged bold directions in our foreign policy. And whereas Women's History Month is a time to uphold women's achievements, recognizing challenges, focusing greater attention on women's rights, gender equality, encouraging all people to do their part in being about positive change. Now, therefore, I, Javier Lopez, Mayor of the City of Ceres, on behalf of the City Council, Vice Mayor Brett Silvera, Councilmember James Casey, Rosalinda L. Vieira, and Daniel A. Martinez, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as Women's History Month in the City of Ceres to honor the history and achievements of women in the City of Ceres across America. If you ladies have something to say.
To say thank you for this. We're very proud to receive it on behalf of the Persephone Group.
Thank you very much. And next we have a presentation by Haven. Healthy Alternatives to Violent Environments Donor Engagement Specialist. Kathleen, are you here? Come on up. She will be giving today's presentation. Welcome.
You know what? I am not tech savvy at all, so I will continue to hit the button and we'll see what happens.
If you need our assistance, we are here.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Just waiting for it to queue up. All right. We have recently changed our name. We are now known as Haven. We are formerly known as Haven Women's Center of Stanislaus. Haven actually is an acronym for Healthy Alternatives to Violent Environments, and that basically is all part of our mission statement. We address the impact of gender-based violence, domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking in Stanislaus County. We have been doing that since 1977 in one form or another, so we have been around a while. All right, you know you're old when you have to use multiple pairs of glasses. Okay, so we basically, I skipped this. Our services are provided to all genders, gender identities or expressions, sexual orientation, or any immigrant status. We're what is known as a safety net agency. We do not ask for documentation. Our services, annually we provide services to over 2,000 survivors of violence at 8 different locations throughout the county. We also offer presentations like this, general training and community education to over 1,000 attendees. We're probably best known for programs that address immediate safety needs, such as our 24-hour crisis line, shelter and hospital response, and our legal program that provides restraining order assistance and court accompaniment. In addition, we provide case management, which means that our clients are usually dealing with the same advocate throughout their journey with us. We provide peer counseling support groups that are designed to provide individualized support in a survivor's journey towards safety and healing. Safety and healing are part of our mission statement. That can also include at times housing assistance to help provide the physical stability that is the core of any safety plan. All of our programs can be accessed by dialing our crisis line. The number is listed up there. I also have put flyers in the back of the room if you're interested in both English and Spanish. You can also call our business line. After hours, that business line does port over to our crisis line, so our phones are answered 24/7. You can also learn more about our programs at our website, havenstan.org. We are able to provide in-person or remote services at either our Modesto or Turlock office. Or if you're a student at Stan State, we do have advocates on campus if you need assistance. If you are on TANF, we are out at the CSA building, and we're also have advocates at the Family Justice Center in Modesto. And we all have advocates there. We all have the same training, and we are able to provide all of that assistance at those locations. Right. So basically, we can't do any of this without community support. We've been very fortunate being in this county. We are often surprised at the generosity and the appreciation that we receive from community members. Grants do cover most of what we do, but grants are designed to have intentional holes so community members can step up and provide us financial assistance. Those help us close gaps so we can continue to provide seamless services for our clients, many of whom flee with basically just the clothes on their back. Basically, grant funding works where we do, that's kind of built in, where we do require certain community assistance. This is why I usually come out to different things to kind of talk about what we do. Basically, the grants pay for our core services, but anything that we need, like our housing program and things like that, donations step up to cover those costs. I guess last, I'd like to thank you all for listening to me and giving me your time tonight. Community members such as yourself are the reason that I have a job, and I've been at Haven for 12 years, and we all love what we do. And thank you again for supporting us.
Well, thank you very much. Any council members have any questions? We have one question from Ms. Vieira.
Do you
Thank you.
have a fundraising event coming up, correct?
Yes,
Will you give me more
do.
information on that?
Okay, April 1st, we have something called In Their Shoes, where people wear different shoes to walk in support and gather donations for us. April 1st, I believe it starts around 9:30 and it starts out at the Gallo. There is a after party at Green's on 10th. Basically, people walk around downtown Modesto. It's a specific route. It used to be called Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, but we basically have kind of transitioned because we want to make sure that anybody who needs our services feels welcome coming through our doors. So this is kind of, the Haven was a necessary switch, not necessary, but something that we wanted to do in order to provide equitable services for all survivors in Stanislaus County.
Thank you very much. And that is it for presentations. Thank you, everybody. Moving on to citizens communication. While the city council welcomes and encourages participation in city council meetings, adopted rules allow no more than 5 minutes. Resolution 2007-106 for expression of non-agenda items. Matters under the jurisdiction of the city council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by a general public. However, California law prohibits the city council from taking any action on any matters which is not on the posted agenda, unless it is determined to be an emergency by the city council. Citizens are entitled to address the city council on any agenda item subject to the 5-minute provision. Anyone wishing to address the city council must adhere to the rules of decorum. The rules of decorum are posted outside the chamber's doors. We will now open up this public comment period for Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom?
There are no members with their hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any members of the public that would like to make a comment? Please step up to the podium and state your name.
Dave Prattis series. I was here at your meeting Friday, and your idealistic goals will never work. Your high expectations are up here and your infrastructure is way down here. You will never have enough funds or the personnel to do that. And if it wasn't for the fact that interchange is so far along, I'd tell you to forget that one and work on the Faith Home bridges across the river and 99. As far as I see right now, the traffic is so bad on Mitchell Road and Service that this interchange is just going to make it worse. I thought I could go down Mitchell Road on Sunday, and I was so pissed off. It took me so long to get to the freeway, and there was hardly any traffic. You guys I've been to these meetings before, and I don't see you, all you're doing is just spinning in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment? Oh, come up there and state your name, please. Mr.
John
Warren.
Warren, City of Surrey. I'll try to speak close to the microphone so you can hear me. On 9th Street at Rhodey, there is not a 4-way stop sign in place. As you travel south on 9th Street from Whitmore, every intersection has a 4-way stop sign. But what happens when you get to Rhodey, right? Cross traffic is coming, it doesn't stop. And I've caught myself there more than once thinking that the cross traffic is going to stop there. And so I know other people in the community have mentioned that. The other day, what brought it to my attention was my wife said, hey, wait a minute, those cars don't stop. And we were turning to go down Rhodey to hit Mitchell and trying to avoid some of the other traffic in town. So I believe planning or maybe public works could look at that intersection and quite possibly consider a 4-way stop at that intersection versus a 2-way stop. There's a lot of cut through traffic on some of those streets coming over from Mitchell. I know I use Rhodey myself when I go to the post office Because when I go out of the post office on the south end, you make a right-hand turn, you go down, you make a right, and you come back around. With the traffic on Mitchell, very difficult sometimes to make a left-hand turn from the post office back across that street. So roading is something that needs to be looked at, I believe, at that particular intersection. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Appreciate that. Is there anybody else that would like to make a public comment? Please step up to the podium and state your name.
Gene Euclid Series. Wednesday is another highlight in kind of history. A lot of people don't know. It's when the nation observes Vietnam War Veterans Day. We got holidays now for months, but not too much for the people that fought for this country, whether it be Revolutionary War all the way up to Afghanistan, Iraq, and some of the unseen places in foreign countries where we still have troops that are losing their lives or injuries and everything else. But some of us here happen to be Vietnam veterans, not to discredit anyone else, Korean veterans, and there's probably still some World War II veterans. But it's nice to know that there was a day set aside besides Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So the nation observes Vietnam War Veterans Day. March 29th, Americans will come together to commemorate the service and sacrifices made by nearly 3 million service members who served in Vietnam. In 2012, President Barack Obama signed a presidential proclamation designating March 29th as the annual observance of Vietnam Veterans Day. The signing of the proclamation marked the 50th anniversary of the departure of the last American troops from Vietnam, March 29th, 1973. Only U.S. Embassy personnel and support staff remained in South Vietnam until the fall of Saigon in April 30th, 1975. The Vietnam War is a story of service members of different backgrounds, colors, and creeds who came together to complete a daunting mission. The proclamation states, "It is a story of Americans from every corner of our nation who left the warmth of family to serve the country they loved. It is a story of patriots who braved the line of fire, who cast themselves into harm's way to save a friend, who fought hour after hour, day after day, to preserve the liberties we hold. More than 58,000 Americans were killed, and many thousands were wounded and injured or determined to be missing. The proclamation states, in one of the war's most profound tragedies, many of these men and women came home to be shunned and neglected, to face treatment unbefitting the courage and a welcome unworthy of their example. We must never let this happen again." Although U.S. advisors had been in South Vietnam since 1955, the proclamation states that January 12, 1962 was the starting point of the war. This is the date when America's first combat mission, Operation Chopper, was launched. On that day, U.S. Army pilots airlifted more than 1,000 South Vietnamese soldiers to an area about 12 miles west of Saigon to capture a National Liberation Front stronghold, the NFL, also known as the Viet Cong, were communist fighters who were in South Vietnam. So this was pretty much the start of things. On March 28, 2017, President Donald J. Trump signed into law the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act of 2017, which named March 29th National Vietnam Veterans Day. The bill amended the U.S. flag code to include National Vietnam War Veterans Day as a day on which the flag should be flown. A lot of citizens don't recognize some of the things that all these people have done years ago, 100 years ago, present day, whatever. I just wanted to bring this up, that there's still some people out there that don't get recognition. And when you say something to them, you recognize them in the public or something like that, it really means something to them. So these people are, again, I've told this before, they're our neighbors, they're our friends, there could be co-workers or whatever. Give them some kind of credit for what they did. They might not have been in a complete war zone, but they did their part to serve the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? Seeing none. City Clerk, I believe there is some emails you were going to read.
Yeah, we do have one email for public comment, and then we do have some other public comments for the Dillon Villas public hearing. So for now, I'll read the one that
Or
we,
for the public hearing, that will be read later, correct?
correct, but we do have one that is for citizen communication
Citizen
unrelated. Yeah.
Okay.
It's from Brittany Valadez. It says, "Hi, my name is Brittany Valadez, and my public comment is regarding a traffic safety concern on North Central Avenue where I live with my family. The safety concern is that cars fly down North Central at dangerously fast speeds of up to 70 miles per hour. I've observed children crossing North Central to get home from school, Atkinson Elementary. My request is to put a stop sign and crosswalk with lights on the corner of Promenade and North Central, which is about halfway into North Central. An immediate action that I am requesting is to place a speed reading trailer on that street to start documentation of the dangerous speeds. When I approached my neighbors, they shared the same concern. However, one neighbor who has lived on North Central for over 20 years shared that the city of Ceres has done nothing to address this concern over the years after multiple requests by multiple concerned neighbors have been voiced. I reached out to Councilmember Vieira, and she was very helpful in assisting me by reaching out to the city council manager, but we have not heard back yet. I also officially submitted a traffic safety request about a month ago and have yet to hear back. I hope this issue can be addressed and resolved in a timely manner. Thank you."
And that's the only one. Okay. Thank you very much. Public period is now closed. Moving on. Moving on to appointments to board commissions. And we have 3 items today. The first one is we will be reappointing an alternate member to Stanislaus County Economic Development Action Committee for 2023. And the city clerk will introduce this item, and we'll go ahead and begin with that item, whatever comments you have.
Correct. So at the January 9th council meeting, council confirmed appointments to the 2023 city council appointment list, which is attached to this item. At that meeting, Mayor Lopez was appointed as the primary member to the Economic Development Action Committee, with Councilmember Vieira appointed as an alternate. However, Councilmember Vieira is currently a community representative on the committee and would like to remain in that position. So therefore, council does need to reappoint another council member. In the staff report, I did mention that another council member must be appointed. That is incorrect. It can be a staff member or a council member. It is at the council's discretion.
Okay, Ms. Vieira, that is correct that you prefer to be.
I prefer to remain in a voting capacity as opposed to.
Okay, sounds good. And with that being said, council, has anybody put some thoughts into this in regards to whether any council members would like to participate, be an alternate, and or we can make a decision to move forward with the staff member? I do have Ms. Vieira. She just pushed her button, so she'll be the first to comment. Thank you. And
Being that I've sat on the EDAC committee for the last 13 or 10 years, I believe since 2013, I find it very effective to have both like the city manager, the economic development, or the planning managers there at the meetings, because as we discuss and work through the SIDS, the county economic development surveys, and trying to develop the plans, it's easier to know because they kind of have some of that background information that us council members and mayors do not have access to. So that it would be really beneficial, which is why I've made the recommend, or I would like to mention that I would prefer, at least on my side, not only to have, I believe, the other primary, but having an alternate such as planning or the director of economics who is familiar with that. And I verified with Patricia Lords that that is available, which I think Fallon had also mentioned that that is appropriate because other cities also have it set up that way as well. So that way we have a voice and actually have a decision maker of the city present, so we could ask those hard decisions and tie it into the grants that come in through the SIDS, through the EDAC.
okay, any thoughts from other council members in regards to this? Mr. Silvera?
Yeah, it makes sense to me to have somebody from development, probably economic development, sit on that committee representing Ceres. And we're fortunate to have a council member already on there. So I would support that.
So I will hand this over to Alex. Any thoughts?
Really at the pleasure of the council. If there's a desire to have the staff be on that committee, we could certainly do that. Might make sense for the economic development manager to be in that position.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Your thoughts on that, Mr. Martinez?
Councilmember Rivera, when do they meet? What time do they meet?
The next meeting is April 27th at 4 o'clock.
Christopher, would a 4 PM meeting be acceptable or something you'd be able to attend? Or you in camera?
I have a question. Is it possible for us to assign a staff member and figure out which staff member goes after this meeting? At the pleasure of the council?
And I'll just add that if I am the person to be showing up to these meetings, it might be a great support to have a staff member. So that way they can report back somebody who can, we can go together. That's what I'm kind of leading to.
So if I might,
absolutely,
Mayor and
yes.
Council, just one comment to follow up on Community Development Director Holmes' comment. Perhaps the action this evening could be designating the city manager or designee as a representative to the committee.
I'm okay with that as long as we can both go together and bring back some information. And if I can't make it, then the alternate would most definitely show up. Okay, if that is the case, do we want to open it up for the opportunity where, I see Martinez has a follow-up question, where you guys will make that decision, whether it's you and or staff line, and then report back to us? Or do we need to make that decision and action today specifically, Alan? Can we leave it open or do we have to make that appointment today specifically?
You don't have to make it today. I mean, you can make it at any time. However, they do have a meeting, you said April 27th,
Which is in 2 weeks, right? April 27th? No,
April
actually, 4
27th,
weeks,
so
4 weeks.
about a month.
About a month. Now, the question is, do we need to approve it in this capacity as an appointment? Yeah.
Yes.
So I would rather not waste anybody's time. Let's just go ahead and make that decision today. So Alex, I mean, we're obviously open to, now before we move on, I'm actually going to go ahead and hand this over to Martinez before I carry the conversation any further. I did answer it?
Yes,
Okay.
you asked Fallon and that was answered, so thank you.
Okay,
Mayor,
yes.
my understanding is the recommendation would be for the council to take the action to appoint the city manager and or his designee. So that that's the decision that you make and the action you take, and then the city manager would work out with staff for actual attendance at the.
If that is the verbiage, then I'm okay with that.
I support that.
Okay. So with that being said, as far as, is there a motion required or are we just going to go ahead and move
Yes.
with that? Okay. I'm
So
looking for a
I'll make a
motion.
motion to appoint the city manager or a designee to the committee.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Moving on to the second item. This appointment is to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District Special City Selection Committee for calendar year 2023. Alan, I believe this is also yours. They're all yours, actually. So
Okay, so kind of similar to the last item, January 9th, council made their appointments to the 2023 city council appointments. However, at that time, staff was unaware that San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District has a special city selection committee. So council does need to appoint a committee member. Currently, it is Vice Mayor Silvera. He was appointed January 25th of 2021. And generally, this is an appointment that's made every year. And going forward, it will be every January whenever we do our appointments.
this item was not on our list when we did all our appointments, is
Correct.
basically what you're telling me?
Correct.
Okay.
And they do have a meeting coming up in, gosh, I have the email to send to whoever is going to be appointed, but it's coming up shortly.
Okay, I'm looking over to the council. You guys have any comments?
Yes, if it's all right, I'd make a motion, Councilmember Vieira. Was this something you'd be interested in? If so, then I would motion that Councilmember Vieira be appointed to the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution.
It depends if Severa still wants it. I'm okay with that. No.
I second his motion.
That was too easy. I don't know. Are you okay? with
It's
it?
okay.
We have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Ms. Vieira, for taking your sweet time to make sure you attend that meeting. Last and final item. It's all yours.
All right, so the last item of mine for the evening is reappointing two existing members that are currently serving on the Measure H Citizens Oversight Committee. So we recently went through the application process to fill two seats. Both are temporary, or not temporary, but only a portion of the 3-year term. It was suggested at that time to reappoint two existing members to serve for the next 3-year term. So that would be Angela Huerta. She was recently appointed. And she would, if she only serves the term that she's in, it's only about 3 months. So if you reappoint her, she will be serving the following 3-year term. And the next seat would be for Josh Steely. His term ends June 30th of this year. And so the recommendation is to reappoint him for another 3-year term. I will say that the reason for this is we don't get a lot of traction with the recruitment process. We oftentimes have to extend the recruitment period just to get applicants. And at that time, we're barely making the minimum amount of applicants that we have seats to fill. And I will also say that we did take a look at the bylaws. Nothing in the bylaws restricts council from reappointing existing members to another 3-year term. So it is at the pleasure of the council to do so and forego the application process that has been done in the past.
Okay, now I bring this back to the council for any questions or comments, and Ms. Vieira.
I noticed Joshua hasn't been at the last couple meetings. Has he agreed to extending his term?
I did. So Josh was not present at the last Measure H meeting. The one prior to that, he was in attendance. So, and I did speak with him. He is agreeable to extending his term for another 3 years. And I also spoke with Ms. Huerta as well, and she would like to have it extended as well.
Thank you.
Before we move along, I think we got ahead of ourselves and we should be actually allowing for public comment. Is there any members of the public that would like to make a comment on the 2 items prior to item E? Anybody on Zoom?
There are no hands raised on
Okay,
Zoom.
Just wanted to make sure that mention that. So back to the city council in regards to item E. How does everybody feel about this, Mr. Martinez?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to extend Mr. Staley and Ms. Huerta for another 3 years to extend their terms.
We have to do 2 motions, or can we bunch them together, but for both persons?
You can,
Be more better that we do one at a time.
you can.
Yeah, let's just do that. Go ahead, sir.
Then I'd like to make first a motion to extend Mr. Josh Staley for another 3-year term.
Second.
If you have a second, can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And then secondly, I'd like to make a motion to extend, is it Angela Huerta?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much for all those. We'll now go ahead and move on to conflict of interest. Is there anyone on the council that would like to declare a conflict of interest on any items on the consent calendar?
Yes.
I see a yes, or I hear a yes. Council member? You don't have to push your button, you're fine.
I can't
It's too
reach
far
it.
anyways.
Yes, I have to abstain from 10 because it's within my circle,
So 10, it's within what, I'm sorry?
within the certain feet of my house that I have to abstain from.
Okay.
My spirit.
If that is the case, Nubia, shall we have her leave now or only if the item is not pulled or if it is pulled?
My recommendation is to do a separate vote. So
1
for
through 9.
item, yes.
Okay. Is there anyone on the council that would like to pull an item? Is there any members of the public that would like to pull an item? Anyone on Zoom?
No one on Zoom.
Seeing none for a motion for 1 through 9.
Move to approve consent calendar 1 through 9.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much. Ms. Vieira, if you could please step outside. Okay. There's probably no comments in regards to item number 10, so we're looking for a motion. Is
You just
now,
need-
I believe I asked for public comment or questions for everything before. I just want to clarify.
Correct. And there was.
That's
none.
correct. Yeah, just want to make sure. So if that is the case, I'm looking for a motion for item number 10.
Move to approve number 10 on the consent calendar.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
If somebody could please bring back the council member, please. Welcome back, council member. Moving on, there is no unfinished business. Moving on to public hearing. Item number 11. Dillon Villas Mixed Use Project, Resolution number 2023-38, approving the general plan amendment 2219 GPA to change the general plan land use destination from CC Community Commercial to HDR High Density Residential for the property located at 3106 Mitchell Road. Christopher?
Yes, I'm going to load up the PowerPoint presentation. One moment. Okay. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to present this PowerPoint about the Dillon Villas project. The Dillon Villas is a mixed-use project on Mitchell Road, south of Whitmore Avenue. It went to the Planning Commission in January of this year, where the Planning Commission approved the conditional use permit and the vesting tentative parcel map. Planning Commission also, on a 3-2 vote, recommended that the City Council approve the general plan amendment and the mitigated negative declaration, which I will talk more about. This is a slide that shows a few different maps. On the right side, you can see the aerial map with the red outline showing the project site area. On the top left, the general plan map shows that this area is designated in the general plan as community commercial, CC. On the bottom left, the zoning map shows that this area is zoned mixed use, MX1. The MX1 zone allows both
If we could please get Christopher a good microphone, please.
the MX zone allows both residential and commercial projects. So this proposal does not require a rezone. The existing zone is fine in it, and it works for the proposed project. However, the general plan shows community commercial throughout the site. And this does not allow high-density residential uses. So the proposal is to split the site. The west 1/3 approximately would remain as community commercial along Mitchell Road, and the right side, the east side, which is about 2/3, would be converted from community commercial to high-density residential. The project includes a 145 unit apartment complex divided amongst 48 one-bedroom units, 84 two-bedroom units, and 13 three-bedroom units. It would be a gated apartment complex, meaning the site access has a gate that requires the residents to get through, a security gate. Also on the street frontage of the property would be 2 commercial retail buildings, including a 13,782 square foot building and a 15,320 square foot building. This project has some history. In 2016, a proposal was brought to the city for a fully commercial project. This went to Planning Commission, and because the whole project was commercial, it did not need a general plan amendment, and therefore it did not need to go to City Council. And at that time, the Planning Commission voted 5-0 to approve the commercial project. This would include various retail buildings on the site, and this approval expired because the project applicant was not able to find any large commercial users to fill the site, despite doing their research and their networking and their outreach and their marketing. They were not able to fill the whole site with commercial. In 2019, a new project was developed and designed, and this included a layout that's similar to the proposal that we see today, a mixed use with commercial and residential. In 2019, the Planning Commission approved this project on a 3-2 vote, but when it went to City Council, only 1 yes vote and there were 4 no votes. So the project failed to move forward. In 2023 of this year, as I mentioned before, the Planning Commission already reviewed this project and recommended approval on a 3-2 vote. Here's some site elevations for the commercial buildings. The signs here are just conceptual. Once we have users planned for each tenant space, those signs would reflect the actual users. And here are the elevations for the residential 3-story apartment complex buildings. This is a landscaping plan showing the trees, the building layout, the parking, the covered parking, as well as the driveways. I'd like to talk about circulation for a moment. The site has a main driveway down the center of the site that goes between the 2 commercial buildings. And after you get through the security gate, then you can access the back part of the site, which has the apartment complex. There's also a secondary driveway at the northwest corner of the site. Should probably go back so you can see it. Along the northwest corner, there's the secondary driveway, and there's a gate along that driveway as well. This is an emergency gate. So emergency vehicles like ambulances and fire trucks would be able to get through that gate. A traffic study is required for this project because according to General Plan Policy 3.A.3, since the project has over 100 estimated vehicle trips at peak hour, a traffic study is required. And I should note also that because there are driveway stub outs along the southern end of the southern side of the property. Both in the area of the commercial parking lot as well as behind in the residential area. That in the future, when the properties to the south develop, that there will be reciprocal access. The access for the residential area will be a reciprocal emergency access. The important requirements for fire include the requirement for 2 driveways, and this project delivers 2 driveways. In the future, there would be that 3rd driveway, as I just mentioned, on the south property line. Also, the fire code requires a 26-foot wide drive lane around the apartment complex, which this proposal actually has 27-foot wide drive lanes. So it exceeds the fire code, and this 26-foot requirement is for the largest ladder truck that we have. The ladder truck that we have is actually just down up the street on Mitchell Road, the fire station there. So there's easy and short distance accessibility for fire to respond to this site. There are Knox boxes at the emergency gates, and all the buildings are fire sprinklered. So if there were to be a fire, the fire is designed to be suppressed by those systems. So there's ample response, and there's ample opportunity to fight fires easily at this site. And we have the fire marshal office here, Shannon Sandoval. If you have any questions, we can turn it over to Shannon.
Does that conclude your?
Oh, I've got a couple more. Thank you.
Okay, just want to make sure. You got really quiet.
Public utilities are served at this site, including water. There are 2 sewer mains. The 24-inch sewer main in Mitchell Road has plenty of capacity. There are no overages or excessive sewer in that line. It's a newer line, and so there's ample capacity in that line. Also, there's adjacent access to Mitchell Road, which is beneficial for this sort of development. We'd like to see that, some of the larger developments like this have direct access to a main thoroughfare like Mitchell, as opposed to being hidden away in a subdivision where there's local streets that have to be used for this kind of project. So that's a benefit to this project. The public facility fees will be collected upon payment of the building permits. And those public facility fees include things like fees for police, fire, water, wastewater, and transportation and others. And those fees, along with the increased property and sales taxes from this project, offset the increased population that this project brings. So it's balanced in that way. And staff recommendation is for the city council to approve the mitigated negative declaration. This is a CEQA document. It's the California Environmental Quality Act. Staff completed an initial study and determined that a mitigated negative declaration is the appropriate CEQA document. And staff recommends that the city council approve the general plan amendment, which will change the eastern portion of the property from community commercial to high density residential. That concludes my presentation, and I'm here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, well, before we start with council questions, the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the chambers or through Zoom that has a comment on this item? Mr. Warren? Is there anybody on Zoom, by the way?
No hands are raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Good evening, council. John Warren, City of Ceres. Everyone will agree that our city does need housing, but the placement of the housing has to be well thought out. And the corridor here in question has been zoned commercial, and it's probably one of the last corridors within our city that we can use for commercial development to raise sales tax and such for the city finances. And if we approve residential apartments, then that opportunity for commercial goes away. 3 years ago, a very wise city council did not approve this project for various reasons. They're all listed in the staff study. I did a little looking back and noticed that the citizens that were present for this very same public hearing, Lee Brandt spoke in opposition of the project. Omar Jackson spoke in opposition of the project. Patricia Cousins spoke in opposition of the project. John Warren spoke in opposition. Dave Pratt, Shauna Moore, and Shirley Rogers. There wasn't one person from the city of Ceres, and we didn't have Zoom back then, that spoke to approve this project. Our city leaders at the time on the council all had serious questions regarding this project. I don't think all of those have been answered. The parking inside the project itself is in question. Small spaces versus large spaces for cars and things. But my main thought is all of these people have to go to work or will go to work every day. With 145 apartments there, you're going to have approximately 300 people there. And most of those people will go to work every day and come home every day or travel to and from that property. They have to make left and right turns across an uncontrolled Mitchell Road. The traffic study has not been done. And I would have thought before this came back to council that a traffic study would have been conducted and recommendations made so that the council and the developers could look and see if it was viable to continue with the project. Left-hand turns across traffic that's going 40 and 50 miles an hour and sometimes faster. It's very dangerous. Fatal intersection, fatal accidents will happen at that location. At the very least, traffic study should be conducted before this moves forward in consideration for signalized control intersection on Mitchell Road at that location. Whether you have commercial development there in the future or you have housing there that you folks are going to make a decision on, a traffic control intersection there at that location would be needed just to protect the people from themselves, because they're on their way, they're in a hurry, they're disoriented, they're looking at their phones or whatever. They're going to pull out in front of people there and get schmucked. And the police department doesn't want to deal with that. And the opportunity for someone to sue the city for allowing that to happen is very great, because the city has a chance to mitigate that from happening. So the chances are there that the city would wind up in a litigation because of that. Think very carefully about this. Traffic is a main concern on that corridor. The number of service vehicles that will ingress and egress there every day. We're talking about United, UPS, Amazon, Uber, pizza delivery people. You're going to have 300 or 400 vehicles coming and going from that place every day, just because of the way we do business. Everybody has packages delivered to their doors every day. Once those people enter that place, there's no place for them to park. There's no parking for the service people that are going to come into that area.
Mr. Ward, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment?
Dave Pratt of Ceres. Like you, the planning commission, they're all new members. And basically they vote yes on everything, so they pass the buck to you. Now, the old members, they saw this and had a vote no on this project. There's nothing different about this. Even though he's talking about local deliveries, you still have the big delivery trucks that'll come in for the businesses that are out front. I'm still looking for the half car that they keep talking about for these parking spots. I find just they built a 21 apartment complex next to my daughter's house, in the process thinking everybody's going to take public transit or take bicycles or walk. Everybody that's lived in those neighborhoods for a long time, all the places that were for use for parking are taking it. If they don't get home in time to take their own parking spots, they're already taken up. Even my daughter's parking spot that she finally posted, no parking, but on her Ring cameras, she still sees people parking there. This is a bad deal for that location. Like he said, the traffic's just going to get worse. Unless you have a better traffic control right there, that means putting another light. You're going to have issues. I'd like to have the fire chief look at me and tell me that he can get a ladder truck plus the bigger fire trucks in there to fight a fire on this 3-story apartment complex. Looking at that plot plan does not look like that they can do that. And like John says, you really need to do a better traffic survey. You're not doing it. You have no control of the traffic going down there. When it takes me a half hour to get from my house to Yosemite Boulevard, or I have to go the back way like a lot of people because the traffic's so bad on Mitchell Road now that and it's just going to get worse. This is a bad mix right in that spot, and I hope you all vote no on this project.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the public that would like to make a comment on this project? Please state your name.
Good evening, Mayor Lopez and members of the council. My name is Brett Jolly. I am land use counsel for the applicant, the Dillon family. My address is 3031 West March Lane, Suite 230 in Stockton. I am joined tonight by members of the Dillon family, including Raj and Rupinder, Mark Miles from my office, as well as Jason Chapman from GDR Engineering, the engineer for the project, should issues come up about the design. I would like to thank Director Holm and his staff who've been helpful through this process and who brings to you tonight, importantly, a recommendation of approval of this project. He went through the background from starting in 2014 with attempts to develop this as a commercial property and ultimately coming before you tonight with this application. So the question is, why should you approve this general plan amendment tonight? I think there are 3 important reasons to approve this. First, one is procedural, one is practical, and one is financial. From a procedural standpoint, the staff and the Planning Commission have recommended approval of this project. While the council has the ultimate authority to determine whether or not to change the general plan, councils look to their expert staff and planning commissions to help guide them on complex planning and land use issues. And I think that the discounting of the Planning Commission's recommendation by the prior speaker was not necessarily appropriate. The chair of that Planning Commission who recommended approval of this, Bob Catchell, has been on that commission for a decade and a half. And before that, he spent several decades in professional planning experience. He is a very experienced planning expert and professional, and again, recommended approval of this along with the majority of that commission. So we urge you to follow that recommendation. From a practical standpoint, this project brings much needed housing to Ceres. As an anecdote, I was a speaker 10 days ago at a conference for the California County Planning Directors Association. And I was able to visit with planning directors from very rural counties like Sierra and Alpine County, and very urban counties like Los Angeles and Ventura. And a recurring theme from every one of those planning directors is we need more housing. We need it to provide housing to our citizens, and we need it to meet state mandates for our housing allocation requirement. Now, this project does both of those things. It adds 145 multifamily units to the city at no cost to the taxpayers. This is a privately funded project entirely, and increases the city's multifamily housing stock by nearly 8%, according to numbers in your general plan housing element. It also assists the city in meeting its regional housing needs allocation numbers, which the state requires for the city to remain in good standing for grants and other financial incentives. And as set forth in my letter from March 22nd, which hopefully you all received and is part of the record this evening, the project implements the existing mixed-use zoning on the site, as well as implements the policies of the general plan and Mitchell Road corridor specific plan, including focusing efforts on increasing mixed use and residential development in commercial areas. Finally, this brings a financial economic benefit to the city. As noted, the Dillon family has, for the better part of a decade, attempted to find a way to develop the property, focusing first on a full commercial development, but it did not work out. They want to develop this property in a way that will benefit the city and that they can see a return on investment. It is not happening through a full commercial development. They attempted to do that. That would have been the path of least resistance, but that market is not there. There is a market for this project. In terms of the objections that we have heard from speakers tonight relating to parking, traffic, and land use compatibility, a traffic study in 2019 looked at the prior version of this project and found that the mixed-use project actually creates less traffic impacts and trips than did the full commercial build-out. So there's a net decrease in traffic than if you left this project as it is. Fire access, your fire staff has repeatedly said that this project meets requirements and is appropriate for access to the site. And in terms of land use compatibility, the design is consistent with the commercial immediately.
Sir, your time has,
Thank you.
but hold on 1 second, just because his time is up. You're actually answering some of my questions, so please continue.
Thank you. Immediately to the north, you have a very similar layout, which is between Mitchell and Della Drive, between Colleen and Whitmore. If you think to the north, you've got commercial fronting on Mitchell Road, and then you've got multifamily housing behind it. But unlike this project, which your director noted is uniform and provides one access off the public road, those are built out in a much more parceled manner. And so this is consistent with that land use theme, but actually provides greater safety and opportunity. Finally, in terms of the parking issue that was raised, the project will have all of its parking contained on site. There will not be off-site parking, and it meets all the city standards for parking. So that is a non-issue, though I understand why folks who have had experience with apartments in their neighborhoods in the past may be concerned about this. Today's standards will not allow off-site parking or parking in other neighborhoods, nor does the design of the project facilitate that. So
You had, just to go back to the traffic study, you had provided a letter.
I did.
Can you touch a little bit on that?
Yes. Did the council receive that letter, and is it part of the record? Very good.
Rest of the council have the letter? Go ahead, sir.
In terms of, in 2019, when the project came forward to the commission and the council, and the commission had recommended approval, and the council ended up a majority recommending denial. It was noted at that time by Planning Director Westbrook that the traffic impacts from developing the project as proposed as a mixed-use site with residential and commercial would actually be less than if the project remained as a fully commercial site and were built out as a full commercial shopping center, as was approved in 2016. This actually results in a net decrease in traffic impacts from the project. Nevertheless, the city requires us to prepare a new traffic study to identify any specific impacts that need to be addressed in light of that, and to provide all of those improvements at the applicant's expense. That's a condition of approval on the project, and the applicant has agreed to that.
Okay. Is that it, sir?
Yes, unless you had any more specific questions about that.
Is there any council members have any specific questions? Councilmember Martinez, go ahead, sir. You don't need to push the button. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I noticed you said that it had adequate parking for the 100 and was it 48 units? Do you know the number of stalls?
I do not offhand. I'm not sure if your planning staff does have that answer. My understanding, though, is it is fully parked, consistent with city standards and what's required by the city's parking ordinances.
Thank you.
Looking at the stalls now, standard stalls, 78 stalls, compact stalls, 30 stalls, accessible stalls, 5 stalls, covered standard stalls, 116 stalls, covered compact stalls, 41 stalls, covered accessible additional stalls, 4 stalls, total of 274 stalls.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And Councilmember Vieira?
On that same train of thought, do you have guest parking available or UPS, that kind of thing, Amazon type delivery locations or spots for them to do temporary or quick parking or guest parking?
Will allow me to look behind me for a moment. Yes, the engineers and developer who know the site plan much better than I do, give me the thumbs up that yes, that is accommodated in the site plan.
Hold that thought. I believe you have another question. Oh, Councilmember Casey, go ahead.
My first question, it's a gated community. Where the gate come all the way up to the road?
Yeah, what it does is, the way it's designed is the frontage, you've got 2 buildings. One's about 15,000, one's about 14,000 square feet that front onto Mitchell Avenue. And those are open to the public to access. Behind those buildings, you actually have gating. So the public is allowed into the frontage of the retail area. Behind that, so set back from Mitchell quite a ways, is where you have the resident entrance to the apartment complex. So that's where it's gated to keep additional traffic from going back into the apartment complex. That's where those Knox box gates are that were described by staff.
So my second question is, what I read in here is that if it's approved, then you're going to do a traffic study. You mentioned that there was a traffic study done previous, but things have changed drastically. You know, I personally go to the post office, which is catty corner property, probably 6 or 7 times a week. And at least half the time, it's a real challenge to leave the post office. And so, you know, today I did the right-hand turn, like someone earlier made the right-hand turn, went down to Rhodey, made another right-hand turn on 9th Street, came back to 9th and Whitmore, and it's, you know, it's a couple miles further. I understood earlier in other conversations with other people that after we do the traffic study, it's possible that we'll have to put a divider down in Mitchell Road. So I'm not sure that the other council members are aware of that. So, you know, if we voted to approve this, and then you do a traffic study and you meet all the requirements for that traffic, is that what the citizens of Ceres want? To have a center divider on Mitchell Road down to however far it has to go? Is that been considered? And the other, really the simple question is, why hasn't a thorough traffic study been done before you came here tonight?
To answer your first question, council member, obviously I can't speak for what the citizens of Ceres want. This is the process that the city employs as a standard practice for evaluating and approving projects like this. We are following those standards consistent with the determination of the planning department and the city's attorney that this is the appropriate way to proceed. We are fully prepared, as we have noted in the condition and in our letter, to provide the appropriate roadway improvements that are necessary to address the traffic for this project. And I think it is something that will be taken fully into consideration, be fully implemented. But having to go back and do that now at this point is going to delay much needed housing for the city. If we have to go back and do that and then come back for approval later at this point. I think it's important to be able to get these 145 units underway for construction to help the city start meeting or help the city meet its regional housing allocation needs and provide the needed housing for the citizens of this community.
Okay. I appreciate concern, and I'm also concerned about the housing needs in Ceres. To go back to the point, the traffic flow on Mitchell Road already, and I was under the impression that a traffic study was going to be done before we came tonight. And so I'm going to just be pretty simple. It's going to affect not just your project, but it'll affect the project all the way, maybe as far as Whitmore Avenue. I should have maybe asked Holmes.
If I may, Mayor.
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir. And then we'll go to
The
Councilmember Martinez.
applicant has provided a letter acknowledging and agreeing to not only do a traffic study, but also to fund and to construct at the applicant's expense any roadway improvements, including a traffic signal, a median in Mitchell Road, and any striping, anything else that's required based on the traffic study that's done. We're requiring it to be done by a licensed traffic engineer, and we'll be reviewing that. So again, all of those improvements, any that are required through that study will be required of the applicant at their expense.
And that would actually happen during the project, before the project? Does it make a difference?
So yeah, the process right now is if the council were to approve this, the next step would be the traffic study concurrently with their engineer will be working on more detailed civil engineering improvement plans, and we'll be reviewing all of that concurrently. That's our typical process, is to have the civil plans submitted. They're more detailed plans. They're submitted after it gets past the planning entitlement process, which we're in right now.
Okay. Councilmember Martinez, you have a question?
Yes, but I believe Christopher did just ask it or answer it. I was going to ask if the Dillon family would be willing to pay for the fees of a streetlight being installed if the traffic study did say that. Is it possible to have this letter read on the record so that it can be in the record for everyone? Alan?
Would you, I mean, I would prefer either you read it, or would you care to read it? Or actually, what, attorney, you want to chime in on that one?
At the applicant's request, it'll be made part of the record
Okay.
and available. It's been,
So
a
it is.
copy has been provided to council. Copies are available for the public as well and will be incorporated into the record. So
It is in the
it doesn't
record.
necessitate reading it, but if it's the council's request, the applicant can always.
And just to put the council's mind at ease a little bit more, if I may, Mr. Mayor, there is
sir.
also a condition, I believe it was 4C, Mr. Holm can correct me if I'm wrong, that the planning commission approved that does require the applicant to take on the financial responsibility for those requirements, including any of the improvements that must be constructed for the traffic as part of the project.
Noted.
Thank you.
That's correct.
I
Christopher.
have another question. You said if you do the traffic study, it's just going to delay the process. But Mr. Holmes just mentioned that if we approve this, then you have to do the traffic study anyway. So my question is, why don't you do the traffic study first? So that when we're voting on this, we understand the whole picture of the thing. Otherwise, we're giving you the green light to do this. And even though you're paying for the cost of all these projects, is it really suitable for the needs of the city of Ceres, particularly when we're talking about the post office, where we have, citizens that go there and they wait to make the left-hand turn. And then there's a possibility that the traffic suggestion or design is going to say, you need to have a divider down there. So now you're going to have these people being forced to make a right-hand turn out of the post office. I just don't understand why you didn't do the study first. That's all.
Sure.
And it really doesn't delay the project, because if we vote tonight to approve it, then you're going to do the study and the permit won't be issued until all of that's done. So I just don't understand why it wasn't done first, because that was one of the rejections I understand from the council when it voted 4-1 not to approve the project.
And before you answer that question, Christopher, I thought I heard different. I thought you said that was a part of the process. Am I correct? You said once we approve, this is the part of the process is to do the traffic study, correct?
For this project, not every project requires a traffic study. It depends on the project size. This project requires a traffic study. And based on that traffic study, any improvements that the licensed traffic engineer says needs to be built there will have to be built in order for the project to move forward, and it will be at the expense of the applicant.
Okay, that's what I heard. Okay. You were going to answer the council member's question too as
Yes.
well?
Councilmember Casey, if I remember your question at this point, the question really was how would doing a traffic study and going back and doing that and then coming back to the council later have any difference than the process that is being proposed tonight, which is the traffic study as part of the building permitting and design process. There are certain processes in the land use approval and construction process. And so we're at the very front end of that approval process of addressing the zoning and the land use permits on the site. So allowing us to get through that, then we get to start the phase of actually getting the city to approve our specific design elements, including traffic design for the project and the building design. So that's the way that the city's process, my understanding is works in general. And that's how it has been implemented on this project. I will say that while I understand your concern that there may be certain improvements required as part of the project, such as a divider or a signal or striping, realistically, if the project were to go out and build as a commercial project, which it is allowed to do under the existing general plan, that would create even higher traffic numbers, which would see you having not only the improvements that you've discussed, but you might even have to have higher levels of improvements out there that are required based on the traffic from this project. So it's not like this project and approving this general plan amendment is the sole impetus to adding traffic to Mitchell Avenue. You will have it whether the project site is built out fully commercial or in any other use. And this is actually a lower traffic use than the current general plan designation proposes.
Thank you. Councilmember Martinez, you have a question for him?
Yes, sir. You just stated that if this was fully commercial, we would have less traffic. Is that your professional opinion or do you have data?
I'm sorry if I said that I misspoke. If this were built out fully commercial, it would actually have more traffic.
More traffic, okay.
From the project. And that's based on the report from the prior planning director, Tom Westbrook, to the, I don't remember if it was the Planning Commission or City Council in 2019. But at that time, when the mixed use project was proposed, the staff had actually looked at what the traffic impacts from the mixed use project were compared to the 2016 project, which had been approved for all commercial on the site, and found that the mixed use project would actually have lower traffic impacts than the full commercial build out project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Unless there's any additional questions from the council.
Question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if it was and you go forward with the apartments, how soon will the commercial property be developed?
Well, it will probably take, I would assume it will take us at least a year to get through all of the permitting from the city, at which point ground can be broken. And it, depending on where the market is for commercial at that point, if there is a market there for the commercial, that will be built, could be built simultaneously with the project. But at this point, the apartment component, multifamily component, is the first phase of the development, with the commercial being the second phase.
So if the apartments are built and that's a that community has a fence around it, then we have the front part of the property that could lead to, people, homeless, whatever. Do you have plans to protect that from happening?
Yes, just in the fact that this is ultimately a $50 million project. So the Dillon family obviously is very protective of wanting to make sure that this property remains a very viable and desirable entity. And so if they're investing tens of millions of dollars into phase one to build the apartment complex, they're certainly going to want to make sure that the front of that property, the frontage between Mitchell Road and the apartment complex, is kept in a very clean and orderly fashion, because they're going to want to be able to attract quality tenants. This is a market rate apartment project. It's designed to be an aesthetically pleasing apartment complex. So this is something where there's a real pride of ownership from the developer, and they want to ensure that they want to protect their investment, to put it in financial terms. So yes, much like the city does not want homeless encampments on that front part, nor do my clients.
My last question is, this is a market value apartments that may not be the right term. So in some of these emails that we've received, it was suggested that we approved it because we need affordable housing. There's a slight difference between those terms. Is that correct?
But not necessarily, because affordable housing looks at the cost of rent across the city based on the income of the city's residents. So multifamily housing, apartments, condos, can still qualify as affordable housing because they are providing a more affordable alternative than traditional single-family housing units, whether it's for rent in the case of apartments or houses, or condos and single-family home ownership. So it does help in looking at your building permit history. The city had approved 0 building permits for multifamily units for a number of years in the mid to late 2000s. I think that Mr. Holm may have mentioned that there was another multifamily project that was recently approved. But as Ceres has grown, it has grown residentially with single family housing, which is always a higher price per square foot, whether at a rental or at a purchase price, than our multifamily units. So by providing a mixture of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, even though they're at market rate, meaning whatever the market rate is for rental of an apartment of that type, it can still be considered affordable and can provide needed housing for the city's residents that can't necessarily afford to rent a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house or other options that may be lacking at this point.
The only last and final question or comment that I have is from Councilmember Silvera. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you to everybody, staff, Christopher, all his staff. Obviously, you guys put tons of time and hours into this property along with Mr. Jolly and his staff. This thing's been floating around Ceres for a long time. As you know, I've always say this, I've been here most of my life. That's been a dirt lot my whole life. And my fear is it would continue to be a dirt lot until I'm not above the ground anymore. In the most layman's term, to answer some of the questions that I had, along with the others with traffic, things like that, I literally went out there and sat for about 45 minutes on that street and just watched the traffic and checked out all the businesses that had traffic trying to turn left from that side of the road or the other side of the road. It's a concern, but there's always a concern. And I did it in the busiest time of the day. It was never a concern for me as that enough to say this project shouldn't be built because of it. The traffic study, yeah, should have been done in advance, maybe. 100% confident that the traffic study will be done, and whatever needs to be done, the developer will take care of that. If we look at the traffic study and think that things should be done like medians and such, why wasn't it done in front of the post office? Why wasn't it done in front of the Save Mart complex? Why wasn't it done all the way down the street? So to say this project would attract things like that, not necessarily. Why hasn't it been done all the way down Mitchell, all the way to the next light? There's no medians. There's no extra things done and built because of traffic. Is this going to make more traffic? Sure. It's the busiest, probably the busiest first or second road in our town. Because everywhere you go, there's traffic in Ceres. Mitchell, Whitmore, and Hatch have a lot of traffic. Just the way it's always going to be. Down the road, we hope that the Faith Home project will alleviate a lot of that. But there's just traffic on main road. So in my opinion, traffic is very small, a very small concern of mine. We've already said, and he's right, I looked at this too, next door to this project is almost exactly what they want to put in this project. Commercial in the front, residential in the back. But the residential in the back is not like this residential. This is a much higher quality gated community with amenities that's not low income housing. Think about it this way. If those two lots were owned by different people, what do we think would end up there? Commercial in the front and residential in the back. So we're so fortunate that we have one developer and one family, one group of people that want to fix that problem and fill that space in Ceres. We have more open spaces within our city limits than any other town in Stanislaus County. Here we have somebody that's willing to make a great project to fix that problem with no cost to the taxpayers of Ceres. Like I said it before, this is a no-brainer for me. Fires looked at it, police has looked at it, all the TIDs looked at it. Everybody's looked at the project and said it worked. There hasn't been anybody yet that knows their business that has said this is a bad project. Everybody agrees. All of the commercial developers agree, the city staff agrees, fire agrees, police agrees. This is a wonderful opportunity for us to bring in more housing and more revenue to our town in a place that has had nothing for 1,000 years and probably won't for another 1,000 if we don't take advantage of this. So obviously definitely in support of this project, and I look forward to seeing that it come to fruition. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Vieira, I see that you pushed your button.
Yeah, before you close public comment, we need to read those that came in through email.
You're not going to make a comment? And I would rather you go ahead.
As a mother of four adult children, I can tell you housing has been an issue. Most of my kids are actually moved out of town just because they couldn't find apartments here locally. So to me, the housing issue is a huge issue for me, and needing apartments for my 23, 25, even 30-year-old. I don't want to date myself too much. I did do a ride along. I've done it with police as well as fire. I actually went with Station 18 out there with the ladder truck. They showed me the two adjacent apartments. We were able to get through all of that. Yes, I made them drive me through it. And I was very thankful for them to do that for me. They were able to get the trucks through the other apartments, through the existing structures that they have now. They showed me where they have issues and the problems that they struggle with now. So I do know the ladder truck can reach all of those areas. So I look forward to also doing another ride along as we go through here. The other thing is, I think the traffic is an overall concern we mentioned already. Overall in series, we see a lot of racing. Now we're seeing sideshows and other issues with traffic. I hope that maybe this traffic study may actually already improve some of the issues that we're already having, even before this is built. So doesn't mean that I love barriers and I think they should only turn one way, but that may be a way to alleviate some of the issues that we're already having in this town when it comes to traffic. And I know in some of the apartments, when I was with the police, they've had to close some of the apartments that have multiple gates due to increasing crime and car thefts. They've had to lock the side gates, especially on Richland, because the increasing crime having multiple gates. So I think that's an issue, something that I'm glad that they only have one way in, one way out, at least for the regular drivers and their residents. And the side gates that are available for those emergency personnel. And then lastly, they addressed when I spoke with staff that the increase in taxes will help pay with some of the increase, possibly another officer. Those taxes will help provide for the infrastructure that's needed. So I think those were my concerns and that were addressed, and I do support this.
Thank you, council member. You're up, Valen. We have three, correct? We have three emails that
Yeah,
that
we
will be
had
read into
three.
the record.
Correct. We had 3 emails come in for public comment regarding this project. The first one is from Juan Vasquez. Hello, I'm writing in support of the apartment project on Mitchell Road. As you know, there is a dire need of housing in Ceres, and this project would help alleviate the need for housing. The second email is from Pedro Ramirez. It states, I'm writing in support of the apartment project on Mitchell Road. There is a tremendous need of housing in Ceres, and this project would help alleviate some of the need for housing. I hope all of you will support this common sense solution. And the last email is from Alexander Parker stating, I'm writing because I support the apartment project on Mitchell Road. In a time of economic uncertainty and expensive and scarce housing, we need to make the opportunity for affordable housing as readily available as possible.
Thank you very much. Anybody on Zoom? Just want to double check, no hands raised.
No hands raised on Zoom.
Okay. Unless there's any additional comments from the public. Mr. Yeakley, go ahead.
Gene Yeakley series. I think Mr. Casey's got a point. It's obvious what direction everything is going to go in, but I'm a layman, of course. I don't know all these things, and all these people in these great departments, they do a good job. But I think he's correct, and this traffic report should have done a long time ago, and before the gentleman came here tonight, they should have had that prepared. And so the citizens can see what's going to go on, and you know, I don't know how all this works completely, but if I was purchasing something or building something and I was paying for it, for someone else to do it for me, I would want everything checked and balanced before I would subject to continuation on something like this. But that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to make a public comment? Seeing none. The public hearing is now closed. I bring this back to the council for direction.
There are no other comments. I'll move to approve resolution 2023-38.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
No.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Big yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you
Or,
very
I'm
much.
sorry,
Moving on
3-2.
to, what was that? I'm sorry.
It passes 3-2. My apologies.
Oh, okay.
Mayor, if I may, there's another resolution number 39.
There is, yes, I was moving on to that next. Moving on to item number 12, ordinance number 2023-1074, an ordinance of the city council.
Mayor,
Ordinance-
Mayor,
There's two.
so if there's two resolutions for
Wait,
the
hold on.
project.
You got to vote for
We
39
just,
there.
we just approved 2023
39, right?
38,
And then we're moving on to
2023 39.
2023-39. I got that one.
So we'll
You
need a
told me
motion.
the page before showed 38. Yeah, that's my fault because I had the page. We approved 38, so now we're approving 39. Okay. Okay, and this actually has to do with this project as well. Okay. So if that's the case, then we move to open up the public hearing for this particular resolution, or do we approve it by a motion and a second?
The public hearing was for the entire item,
Correct.
but the motions have to be separate because there's two
Okay, so
separate.
that's what we're asking. So council, we're looking for a motion and a second.
Move to approve resolution number 2023-39.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No,
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
No.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion passes 3-2.
Okay. Sorry about the confusion. Moving on to item number 12. Ordinance number 2023-1074, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sirius amending Chapter 916 Parks, Public Property and Public Facilities of Title 9, Public Peace, Safety and Morals of the Sirius Municipal Code to restrict recreational fishing in River Bluff Regional Park, Lower Terrence Retention Pond. And this will be led by Public Works Director Sam Royale.
Yes, sir. Good
Well,
evening, Mayor. Good
time no
evening,
see.
Council. I
Thank you.
want to bring to you tonight the fishing restriction ordinance proposal at the Lower River Bluff Retention Pond. The City of Sirius River Bluff Regional Park Lower Terrace landscape includes a retention pond. It acts as a permanent structure to hold the stormwater during a storm event and to prevent area flooding. Second slide, thanks. The characteristic of the retention pond at the Lower Bluff Park, it has a pond structure, a retention pond comprising of rubberized liner and a natural wetland habitat supporting local floral and fauna. The life cycle of the liner itself, it varies between 50 to 75 years. Depends on the thickness. I think we have a pretty thick liner at the pond, so I would say 75 years would be the life cycle for that liner. The liner damage risk, a reduced liner life cycle is a result of a punctures, rips, tears, and sun damage. And the primary case of the liner damage is a fishing activity such as hook, lures, weight, and snags. Second slide, please. In summary, the existing rubber liner at the Lower Bluff Regional Pond is susceptible to puncture damage from fishing activities. And an ordinance to prohibit fishing as necessary to protect the wetland and to minimize the maintenance cost and the liner replacement. I mean, lately, we've been seeing quite a few residents acting fishing at the Lower Bluff, and our city staff been doing a really good job on trying to prevent people from fishing and causing the damage to the liner. So therefore, we want to have the council approve this ordinance so we could go ahead and make it official. I could take any question now.
We do have one question from a Councilmember Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Royal, is there already no fishing signs down there?
There are yes, there are
Okay.
quite a few fishing signs at the pond, yes.
Thank you,
sir.
sir. And I think my second question would probably be for Chief. Then how will we enforce this ordinance?
I'm assuming there will be some sort of fine structure for repeated causes of that. And whether that's done through non-sworn or sworn staff, that's how we would address it.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Casey.
let me turn on the questions. The first question is it a fish and game thing that, are they, because it's on public property, are they the ones that would be the enforcers of the non-fishing area? And the second question really is about allowing maybe the recreation department putting together a fishing day for 5-year-old kids, and how much harm would that really do? You know, I mean, I understand the importance of protecting the liner. And, you know, it's been suggested to me, well, they can fish in the river. Yeah, they can fish in the river, but I'm thinking of, you know, not my grandkids, they're all too old now, but, you know, 5-6-year-old go out and control fishing day or something. But the first question is it a fishing game thing because it's on public property? I don't know. Question.
I'm not sure if it's fish and game. I know they have the authority along the river as far as public property. I'm not sure on that. And I think that's the reason why we had to bring a municipal code forward.
Mr. Casey, are you referring to a fish and wildlife?
Say that again?
Are you referring to the fish and wildlife?
Yeah, the fish and game, you know, they have, they're the ones who control fishing on public property. I'm just wondering, should they be part of this project? And the other one is, isn't there some way that you could allow, you know, the recreation department to put together, I don't know, twice a year, a fishing thing for 6-year-olds or something like that? That's all.
But what we're trying to do in this case here is to prevent the hooks from jeopardizing the liner itself. So it doesn't matter what age you are, as long as, I mean, the hook is a hook, it's a metal, it's a sharp object that could jeopardize that liner, so.
Okay, is there any other council member questions? Okay, yes, I believe, no, I'm so sorry. You pressed your button. Councilmember Vieira has a question. Apologies.
It's just kind of related back to like a fishing day. Is the pond stocked, or is it just initial stocked and it's naturally reoccurring and reproducing?
No,
We don't.
it's natural.
So anytime they fish, they're taking what is meant for the wildlife, like the ducks that are there, or wolf or beaver. I'm sorry, I think we have 2 foxes, a red and a gray fox. We have the beaver, and then we have a variety of natural birds.
Yes, we have quite a few beavers.
Okay, and they rely on those fish though, and it's part of their habitat,
I
correct?
believe so, yes.
Any additional questions from the council? Okay, the public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the chambers today, either Zoom, would like to make a comment? Please state your name, sir.
Dave Pratt Series. I'm sorry that John left because he had more questions. Basically, because he's looked at the fish and game rules that people are allowed to fish public property. If this thing is filled, unless you have a fence around that or have it constantly monitored, there is no way you're going to prevent people from fishing in there. And so I don't know if this thing's going to be water in there all the time, or just whenever the river rises high enough to fill that thing. I know one thing, that once the river does rise, that sooner or later, there will be fish in there. And people are gonna go fishing for them. Well, if you can't protect it, just because you have a ban on it, you got bans everywhere, and people ignore those all the time. And so I don't know how you're gonna, just because you put up signs and stuff, you're still gonna have to find a way to protect it, because it's never gonna happen.
Sam, I have a question for you. So currently there is no ordinance, right?
There's none at the pond, no, sir.
So there is signs there, right?
Correct.
So with this ordinance, that means we can enforce the signs, right?
Absolutely right.
So that
Yes,
is something, that means that we're doing something, right? If we do pass this ordinance.
yes, sir.
Just want to clarify that and
Can I just say?
yeah, you
one
may, you
thing?
may. Okay.
This is a retention pond. It means the liner is to protect the water from absorbing. through
As
the
in, as
ground.
in this pond was created
Yeah,
by us.
correct.
Okay.
So there'll all be water in the pond itself.
So this is not an, obviously wasn't a natural occurring pond. We made this pond.
Yes, this is a retention pond, not a detention pond.
And you said that the hooks will damage that retention liner, which
That-
will cause issues, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Councilmember Vieira.
Sorry. Two quick questions. I believe it's closed now because of the high river levels. Is that correct? Or is it now open?
No, it's still closed.
And then lastly, is it just going to be like a code enforcement type thing? Because I didn't see any kind of like fee structure or penalty structure that was attached to this, like the chief had mentioned.
I'll leave it up to the chief to answer that.
In the staff report, it shows that this is punishable by an infraction, which leads me to believe that it can be done by sworn or non-sworn. And there is probably a fee schedule pursuant to section 19.02.03 B-boy. I don't have that in front of me, but there is a fine structure in place.
Thank you. That's all I needed.
Thank you. Is there any other members of the public that'd like to make a comment? Mr. Yeakley?
Uniquely serious. So you're going to construct an ordinance for a fish pond? And there be an infraction and possible fine for a fish pond? But we got other issues in town and they get citations. They don't have IDs, driver's license or anything. So these people that possibly could be obstructing this particular drawn up ordinance for this fishing pond, they're going to fall in the same category where these things don't mean nothing, a citation or infraction. And they probably don't have the money to pay for it anyway. If it reached a legal atmosphere like a court hearing, which it will probably never, ever happen, they would dismiss it because these people don't have any money and they don't have a proper ID or anything to associate it with. I think we need to forget about that part and put our attention to the present things that are helping in our community already. And they're getting citations and nothing's happening to them, but yet you want to do something to someone that's fishing in a pond? I think we need to reevaluate a few things here. Thank you.
Is there any other members of the public who'd like to make a comment? Zoom?
No members on Zoom.
Did we receive any emails?
No.
Any phone calls?
Nope.
Okay, the public hearing is now closed. Wait a second,
Oh, no, the public's closed, right?
but you can make a comment, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to make a motion that we accept ordinance number 2023-1074, an ordinance, the Ceres City Council, I'm sorry, the City Council of City of Ceres amending chapter 9.16 Parks and Public Property and Public Facilities of Title IX for the Lower
Second.
Regional Bluff Terrace.
Motion and a second roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
No.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes.
motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. Moving on to new business. Item number 13. Resolution number 2023-40, approving the use of ARPA funds to plan and implement the Ceres Hot Air Balloon Festival and authorizing staff to move forward with expenditures. Spade.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and council members. I would like to ask you to approve our planning and implementing of our first annual Ceres Hot Air Balloon Festival.
Woo-hoo.
Some of the activities proposed for this festival would be our opening ceremony, and we would start the morning out with a national anthem, includes inviting all the elected officials and a chamber ribbon cutting. The balloon launch would go next, starting at 6 a.m. This is an early morning event, and hopefully the balloons would go off around 7. I've been in talks with the Lions Club, Mr. Borges, and about doing a pancake breakfast and having them out there. We would like to have vendors, arts and crafts, and then bring in a carnival for the kids or have kind of a kids zone and a section for the kids to play. There would also be live entertainment with a couple bands. And then we've also talked about contacting like a drone club and having them come out and doing a drone show. Some of the anticipated expenses for this Balloon Fest is the money would go towards the balloonists themselves for travel, lodging, propane, and then any additional fees that might come for them, but that should be it. And then being our first year, we're looking at possibly 7 to 10 balloons going off. And then also the funding would pay for portable restrooms and wash stations, security, and then the bands for the live entertainment. As you can see, we are talking about holding this festival out at the River Bluff, the upper level, and the soccer fields would accommodate. Actually, as we move forward over the years, if this does get approved, it could accommodate up to probably 50 different balloons, if not more. And then these are just some pictures, and I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Mr. Martinez, do you mind if I ask a question first? Okay. Okay, so my question is, a person can ride this balloon, correct?
They will not be giving public rides, but as we go out and do fundraising and for sponsorships, most of the time they will give the sponsors rides, but they cannot sell tickets or give the public rides.
And why is that?
It must be part of their rules as pilots, and they're considered an aircraft, so probably liability
But you said that they could give sponsors rides?
because they're not paying to ride. It would be a benefit of being a sponsor. So they're
Okay.
not actually buying or paying for the ride. And that's up to the pilot. I'm just saying sometimes that's what they'll do, but that's up to the pilot. And that's their aircraft. But they will not be selling tickets to the public for rides.
So in any events at all, there is no riding the balloons? Where they've had events like this before?
Not buying tickets and paying. Now, sometimes they'll have tethered balloons out there and you can buy tickets. And what that does is it goes up about 40 feet and then they bring them down. So you get the experience of going up, kind of
I've seen
getting a
that.
beautiful
And that's
view.
that's actually what I meant.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like going up and going away. So,
No,
okay, yeah. So those are
sorry,
the-
I shouldn't have been more clear.
yeah, it's okay. Those are the tethered balloons. And we are working with the airport, Modesto Municipal Airport, because it does fall, River Bluff falls in the airspace.
Correct.
And I don't know if the tethered balloons would be allowed because of that, depending on how high they go up.
Is
But
that
it is something that's in talks.
so that is being taken into consideration?
Yes.
And if it doesn't happen, then all we're doing is what? Basically just watching the balloons go up and down?
Yes, but and if you have ever been next to one of those balloons that are being inflated, they're amazing.
No, yeah, I've seen it
Yeah.
before. That is all.
Okay.
Councilmember Martinez?
Because I had two questions. The first one was gonna be for you, Tamara. In the background on the staff report, it says that this Series Hot Air Balloon Festival would be the only festival of its kind in the Central Valley. Is Ripon no longer doing Color of the Sky?
Ripon hasn't done one since I want to say the year 2016 or 2017.
Okay.
That
thank
was
you.
the last year.
Thank you, ma'am. And then my second one was for Alex, since I am kind of new. Where are we ARPA funds wise? I know a lot's been allocated. We still have our second round coming around. Would this 10,000 impact us one way or the other?
As indicated in the staff report, the council in the first round of ARPA allocated, I believe it was $100,000 for, I think the category was economic incentive. We are recommending the application of some ARPA funds under that category.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir. So a tenth of that would be towards this.
Correct. Correct. Thank you.
Councilmember Casey?
Sure. My only question is, you're working with the airport and it hasn't yet been approved?
We have filed all the appropriate paperwork and we are just waiting to hear back from them, but I have met with them multiple times and the airport managers told me that he doesn't see it being an issue. It will be just defining the length of time that the airspace will be closed.
And do we have a calendar date yet? Or we,
Yes, so we're looking at June 17th, which is Father's Day weekend. So we're only about 3 months out and yeah.
and then the vendors that are going to be there, they'll be permitted and all that.
Yeah, we're looking at arts and crafts vendors. We have started a committee that has been meeting a couple times. We've met just to have these conversations, kind of plan it out a little bit once it, and hopefully if it is approved. And so we have different individuals that are taking care of different parts of this festival. So the vendors is under Irene, which she's in the audience. So.
And my last question goes maybe to the city manager. What kind of liability will we be facing, if any?
That was one of my initial questions when Ms. Spade brought the idea of the balloon launch to me. And we have checked with our RMA, our risk management agency, and I understand, and I'm looking down to see if I can see Delilah, and we had a conversation with them and they didn't express any overriding concerns about the event. And that's correct, right, Delilah?
That's correct. We do have liability insurance that covers us, and we aren't going to be giving rights to the public, so it does reduce that liability.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vieira.
Okay, since I used to work in Ripon when they used to have their event, I know parking and traffic was a nightmare in all that side of town. And I know parking over there, especially look at your map, seems limited. And I know there's limited parking on Eastgate. Do we have alternatives or places for well over, approximately, I'm assuming about 1,000. That's how many showed up. Used to be in Ripon was over 1,000 people. So just wondering if we have a game plan set up for parking.
Yeah, so the parking lot, we would be using that at River Bluff, and then any overflow parking, we will be, we've talked to Katie and Joey here and talking about using the parking lot out in front of the community center with providing transportation to and from. We also are going to reach out and talk to Walmart and the dark Walmart out on Hatch and see if maybe we can use their parking lot with, again, transportation to and from.
That is it? Okay. Thank you. Now, unless there's any additional questions from council or comments.
Move to approve resolution.
Sorry, I was going to move to public comment. Is there any members of the public that would like to make a comment? Is it Euclid?
You've covered everything, but if the city's involved with parking in out front here of this building or any other parking area where the city has jurisdiction on, what about security? Is that going to be part of the shuttle too, as security?
Yeah, we would hire security. I don't know about for the shuttle itself, but we will have security out at the River Bluff.
But if they choose this parking lot out here, there's no security going to be paid for by.
That's something that we can consider and bring up,
Yeah,
but
well,
we haven't talked about
I hope so. Thank you.
security for parking.
Anyone else?
Dave Prattis series. Most of my questions were answered, especially about the airport, that they're close off the air traffic at that time. As far as the security, like overflow parking lots like here, that I know I've gone to the county fair and catch the shuttle at different locations and they don't have security at those. They just have people monitoring those places that are running the shuttles and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to make a comment? I don't see any hands raised. Okay, with that being said, bring this back to the council for motion.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution 2023-40, approving the use of ARPA funds to plan and implement the Series Hot Air Balloon Festival.
Second,
We have a motion on in a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Aye.
Councilmember Vieira,
Aye.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
yes.
Mayor Lopez.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item number 14, resolution number 2023-41, approving the use of ARPA funds to sponsor the 33rd Annual Series Street Fair and authorizing staff to move forward with the expenditures. Also Tamara.
So the Series Street Fair, 33rd annual is this coming year. And we have received a letter requesting a sponsorship in the amount of 10,000 to help support this street fair. We have people in the audience if you want to hear from them about the street fair.
Yes, please.
Hi, I'm Lisa Mantero Moore. Been on the Street Fair Committee for a really long time. Tonight with me is our Street Fair Chairperson this year, Brandy Meyer. We've served the city of Ceres for 33 years with the support of our community, the Ceres Chamber of Commerce, and the Ceres Lions Club. The Ceres Street Fair Committee is a 501c3, and all the funds that are garnered from our street fair activities go back into the community. For those of you that weren't around the 33-year-ago mark when the street fair was started, it was created as an opportunity to provide the community with a nonprofit venue for its local community service projects. All the food vendors that are at the street fair are nonprofit vendors. If they're a professional or commercial activity, they must partner or pair with a nonprofit group that receives funding. Our Street Fair Committee's history is to bring money and support into this community with over 10 to 15,000 people attending each and every year. All the funds that go into the Street Fair Committee go right back out to the community with an opportunity for local vendors, artisans, and performers to receive support. Our committee operates with support from the community, local sponsors, businesses, and so on. Our committee is entirely voluntary. We have had robust support of our public safety department, and the community public works department has done a tremendous job over the years to help us support our local downtown project. We try to keep it true to our roots, and with the increasing demands for security, secure items, I should say, fencing, if you will, stage support, just different types of things that an activity recruit here. We do have a cost that we need to, we don't want to bore onto the public. So we keep this event as a nonprofit friendly event, no charge. And we really proud of our track record. Anything like that?
She pretty much covered everything, but just a reminder, as we all know, everything price-wise is going up. That includes everything that all of our expenses for the street fair. So don't want to, as Lisa said, pass that on to our vendors. So we are asking for the city to help sponsor us because this event is a huge event for the city of Ceres. I'd like to have your support tonight.
Thank you very much. Council members, is there any questions? Councilmember Martinez and then Councilmember Vieira.
Ms. Montero, you said this is the 32nd annual?
33rd.
33rd. Goodness. And then one question, any chance you guys could bring back that 5K? I don't know when it stopped, but
I think last time it was robustly run by Eric Ingerson. So as soon as he's trained and ready for the next one, we're on it.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think that was actually the last time I was on the council. So it's been a few years on that.
You know, I think the 5K was before my time, but I do know that in City Hall, there's a turquoise t-shirt that says Ceres Street Fair 5K 1990, 1989.
Yeah, that was, people in the 5K were a lot younger then. The committee has aged since then.
Thank you.
Councilmember Vieira.
I'm just wondering what amount or if we've given amounts in the past and what that was, and if this is equivalent to what we've done in the past.
We've never received direct funding from the city of Ceres. The funding has been in kind support by public safety, public works, the activities of that nature. We pay services, whatever we charge for any activities, but we have not had, to my knowledge, any direct funds from the city.
So this will be the first time if it is approved. Okay, is there any comments or questions from the public regards? Thank you very much.
Gene Yankley Series. My question is, if I'm understanding right, part of the ARPA funds is going to go to the street fair. And I have no problem with that. But I would like the public to know what they're going to get. And is that going to be the same amount of money that hot air balloon is going to get? Or, you know, why would one get more than the other if that's the case? And just how far are we the city gonna put this extra money, this ARPA fund money into these two particular? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment or question? I believe it is the same amount. To answer your question. Go ahead, Brad.
Brad Series. Yeah, that's the question, that the fees that are charged for the vendors now. And so, like you said, fees are going up and you don't want to pass that on. That's going to be, this money will pay for the excess above those fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to make a comment or question? So Yickley, is this going to be a follow-up question, sir? Go ahead, sir.
You didn't mention the amount. I mean, you know, is it $1? Is it 60,000? Is it 40?
I was under
50?
I was under the impression that they're asking for $10,000, right?
And Mr. Mayor, if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Participate. $10,000 is the recommendation,
Yeah.
similar to the amount that the Balloon Festival
Which is in the
received.
staff report, right?
Correct. So
Mr. Yickley, is that
So
answer your question?
10,000 to the street fair and 10,000 to the hot air balloon?
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct.
All right,
Yes.
now the
Yes.
city knows, citizens.
Yes, it was in the staff report. Any additional comments or questions? Okay,
Move to approve resolution 2023-41.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Casey,
Yes.
Councilmember Vieira,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Silvera,
Yes.
Mayor Lopez,
Yes,
motion carries 5-0.
thank you very much. There is no discussion items. Is there any council members that would like a referral? Miss Vieira, I seen your button pushed.
I guess the only referral I have right now is a possibility of maybe a public safety meeting. I was recently at one in Modesto where they had the council, our council member, member of the city manager, police chief, supervisor, and assembly member Alan East there to review what they do, which area, what every person covers. Fire was there too. I'm sorry, they opened the door for me. They went over how to use the app, what was going on in the community. The citizens were able to talk directly to each person to ask the questions about what to do when this happens, or how do I address this, or who handles this, as well as LNA addressed some situations that were going on at the Capitol on some changes they were trying to make. So I would love to have maybe a public safety meeting here with the community to go over some of their concerns, as well as our own on what's going on in the city.
What is the consensus from the council in regards to that? Is everybody okay with that, or any reservations? Yeah, everybody's okay with that? I was gonna refer back to the chief. I don't know how that would look. I mean, that's gonna be a,
I guess I'll jump in.
yeah.
I think what my response to the council member was, we want to do something that was meaningful to the series community. I think we could certainly look at what Modesto has done, but we're a very different community, very different department than Modesto PD, but we could certainly look into ways to engage with the community in that way and come up with some options for the council, or with the format that the chief would be comfortable with and that we think would work for the series community. But generally, I think it's a great idea.
Chief, is this something that you have specifically just the name itself, public safety meeting that you've done in the past, or is there ways that you do it already now?
We've never done a public safety workshop since I've been here. How we format that and something that we can create, it's not something that can't be achieved. I would be careful that we don't duplicate efforts that we already do with the school district. Several times a year, we meet with them in conjunction as a partnership to discuss various things. But I'm not opposed to doing it on our own either.
So and I know we shouldn't get into deep conversations about this. When you say that we were doing something with the school district, is that, what specifically was that? Was that with the council? Was that just you and the school district?
Various members of the district and the public, and I think we have one coming in April to talk specifically about fentanyl.
Yeah, so those are actually not the workshops, but the town hall meetings.
Yes.
So just thinking on the spot, what if that is something that we can do in conjunction with the school district on the next run? Because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. But it's just something to think about. Council.
We are invited to that
Yeah,
workshop.
yes, I
We will be present at that
Yeah,
workshop.
I will be there as well. So, but they don't have a public safety town hall meeting in the works.
No.
Okay. If this referral is approved by the council, we're just gonna have a discussion in the future about how that would look like, right? Nubia, does that make sense?
I believe this is the first time Councilmember Vieira is requesting this to be put on an agenda for future
Right.
discussion. So per the handbook rules, staff will evaluate, bring it back and present for formal consideration to the council at a future meeting. So this is more just brainstorming on what that would look like with no
Yeah,
action.
okay. Councilmember Vera, is this even just the questions that I'm asking that still kind of fall in line of your concept and idea?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Just to chime in, the one thing is some of us don't have school-age children anymore. My daughter's 30. Kind of out of the school, so I don't get those notifications or warnings or any of that information.
Okay. With that being said, it looks like you have your direction, Alex. Thank you very much. Any additional council member referrals? Seeing none, moving on to staff reports. Councilmember Casey had, oh, I see your butt. Councilmember Casey had mentioned to me in person and in an email that it would be very important, and Mr. Yakely had already touched on this subject, that March 29th, 1973 was the last day that the military withdrew from Vietnam. And I would like to personally thank all the veterans for their service when it comes to that. Thank you very much. I also want to mention that tomorrow we have an event for Arbor Day. And in this particular event, we have, excuse me, this thing just got small. Tuesday, March 28th at 10 a.m. at the community center. The staff got together with the California Garden Club and also the local Series Garden Club to put together an excellent event. And in regards to that, I believe Tamara, you were involved a little bit in this, correct? Do you mind? Did I steal your thunder? I just want to make sure. Would you mind to kind of get into it a little bit, if you don't mind? No go on the mic. Somebody give her a mic that may or may not work. We'll find you a mic. Are we just not turning on?
Okay, there we go.
We're not
I'm
turning,
like, maybe
we're
it's
not
just
turning
me.
on the mics or what? Okay.
Yes, I had been speaking to Mrs., I think her last name was Hendricks, and she's from the Garden Club, and they found a tree, paid for it and wanted to plant it, and then working with Parks and Rec, and I think Kenny Vaughn helped find a place and arrange the planting and everything, so. Yeah.
So
I think-
tomorrow is going to be a celebration at the community center, being that we're part of Tree City USA. And we're proclamating tomorrow's Arbor Day.
Yes.
And this is indoors, right? Or in the front?
No.
It's in, you said, it says community center. Does that mean in front of the community center? So everything's going to be outside, correct, Tamara?
Yes, everything is going to be outside.
Wanted to make sure.
They're
Okay.
planting, yes.
I figured they won't plant a tree inside, but
You never know.
so you're saying that the weather's gonna be pretty bad tomorrow? Please bring umbrellas. Okay, with that being said, that concludes my report. Moving on to the city council. I seen that Ms. Vieira and
Mr. Mayor,
Martinez have their buttons pushed.
I did have a report. I don't know if you were moving past reports.
We are on city council member reports, yes. Ms. Vieira.
I just want to make sure who had the floor. Okay, so I met with Series Partnership. I'm continuing to meet with them monthly. We have a mental health awareness that'll actually be here at the community center on May 11th. We're looking forward to bringing mental health awareness to the community. Also regarding EDAC, I know we touched on the economic development. We have a meeting at the end of April. I want to continue advocating for a business workshop, and I believe we have a job fair coming up, but I haven't heard too much about it, so I look forward to collaborating with Tamara. Let's see, Love Series. We're doing nonprofit tables. There was a recommendation for a city table. I look forward to seeing what TJ was able to put together. I hope that we get some kids stickers, maybe some water information. We haven't been able to reach out to the fire yet. They're here, so I'll just kind of mention it while Wise is here. About maybe even having maybe 15 pull the truck out in the morning, maybe to kind of make some noise and flash some lights for the kids on the morning of Love Series. Maybe have some information about checking the batteries and fire alarms and life jacket information and other information that would be good for the community. And the last thing, this last Monday on the 20th, I was actually able to go up for Women's History over at the Capitol, where I was able to make several connections. I was also recognized for Woman of the Year for District 22 here in Stanislaus County, and I look forward to making a positive impact in the city. Thank you.
If we can give her a round of applause, because that is exciting. Awesome. Thank you very much. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My two reports, I don't mean to steal Katie's thunder, but Friday, the 31st here at the community center is the extravaganza. Again, it does start at 5:30. We'll be inside, so you don't have to plan for weather. And then secondly I was also in attendance at the Love Series meeting this past week. They are still looking for volunteers. They have a lot of good projects going on. So if you want to participate and you have the capability to participate, please visit their website and sign up. And I know Lions Club will be providing breakfast the morning of. It's a great way to give back to the community and get out and be involved. So the Love Series website is how you can do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other council members? See you none. Moving on to the city manager, sir.
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Okay, yes, sir. First time. City attorney.
Nothing to report tonight, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Anybody from any of the department heads? Christopher.
Yes, I'd like to introduce our new senior planner, Teddy Hernandez. Teddy has some experience. She served the county of San Joaquin in their planning department. And she also was in the U.S. Army as a flight medic. We're really excited to have Teddy here, and we're already brainstorming ways that we can improve our processes and leverage technology to make things easier for the public as they interface with our department. We also have a new building permit technician. Her name's Rhonda Rose, and we're just really happy to have those positions filled, and we can move onward and upward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. And as always, we always want to put you on the spot. Is there any comments?
I'm excited to be here and I really look forward to working with everyone.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Is the county supervisor online? I do not see him here today.
No, I don't see him
Okay.
online.
And with that being said, there's no closed sessions. Meeting is now adjourned. God bless everybody. Have a wonderful night.